Are you all seeing the thing here, civil claims? Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, this looks like the wrong participle. That's what I have for my degree students. Let me see if I could find the one I have for you. That's the one for, we have the degree class on today too. All right. Okay, so this is yours, right? See if you can see now NEBOSH Management of Health and Safety, NG1. Right. So I just want to remind just a reminder that remember there is a case study. It's like 2 pages long, right? So you'd see, wonder if anybody's outside. Somebody seemed to be calling. When I say outside, I mean outside the the Zoom. All right. So there's a case study. If you look at here, you'll see that. And a lot of the answers are from that itself, right? So when you're looking for the indirect cost, then you kind of have to take it from here. You cannot just use the book. You all getting that? You can't. Okay, if you watch page 5 in your textbook, right? And you put an uninsured cost is accident investigation time, you would get no marks for that. Now it's correct, but you get no marks for it because remember every answer must be tied back into the passage there. So if you are saying accident investigation time, you have to be able to find some lines. We call it the magical lines, right? That will support what you're saying. You have to find some lines, right? Or like what I'm saying, you can actually find the answers right here, right? The go-to thing in any exam. And the faster you understand that, the better, right? Like the go-to source of information then is really not too much a textbook. And I think you heard me say that in one of the orientation classes. And it's actually not Google either. The go-to thing is the case study, right? So you have to read. And as you read, if you find an indirect cost, but then you have to take it from there, right? So the case study then becomes the main source of information, right? I don't know if I could stop and show you one. I could have stopped way up and top. I'm trying to see if I can see an easy one. Because some of them you have to interpret it, right? You have to interpret what they're saying then and turn it into like one of the indirect cost anyway, right? So because the case study is not that long. By the way, this is April paper, April 2024, and they did ask it, look at there, determine uninsured cost. So that's what I'm saying. I could give you an assignment this week, right? But here, what they want, right? The uninsured cost here. So this is something you have to like print and read with a fine-tooth comb because they want the uninsured cost, but they don't want these. They don't want exercise mission repair, personal injury compensation, civil claim awards, medical costs. Why they don't want these is that these are already insured. So that's what they said. The organization insurance covers only the following costs. So they want 13 uninsured costs now. So if you look at the book, you can see some, page 5, you can see some like a loss of business reputation and the costs associated with that. But you'll have to find the line from the case study to support it. Yeah, you'll have to say like the organization or possible uninsured costs can be the costs associated with loss of business reputation. But then you have to come up here because that's how NEBOSH mark, right? If you give the answer alone and you don't give the line, then you don't get any mark, right? So that piece of it is a kind of trick because you have to come here, as I said, and find those lines, right? To support what you're saying then, right? And that's what takes the time. If you wonder what takes the hour, because you see, if it was an open book exam, you could just copy back all the answers alone. And then you wonder why, like what people doing so long. But it does take you a whole day. And what takes you the day is not really the answers, but really to find the line. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. But you have to put it because if you don't put it, you don't get the mark, right? So Yeah, go ahead. Anybody? All right, so I wouldn't attempt to do this now because, like I said, that's a time consuming. This is take hours to do, right? So when I just wanted to show you though, I just wanted to make the impression that the open book exam is easy, but it's not too easy. Or is it easy, but it's time consuming because you can get the answers, like what is uninsured costs. But the thing is, you have to tie it back into the passage. Let me see if we could find something here. If I cannot, I cannot because I want to get today's long itself, right? But I said I'll do this because remember, this is your second class. And to teach without a focus is not to teach at all. Because you're not here for a class, believe it or not. You're here to pass an exam. You're here for the class, yeah. But if you don't pass the exam, then the class doesn't make sense. It's always good to focus here and do what you have to do then. So you don't think that this thing is in the book. This thing is in the passage, right? And it is fun if you like comprehension, if you like those kind of things. So the great thing about comprehension is that all the answers there. But the thing is, it's a finite. Let me just read these 4 or 5 lines. If I don't get nothing here, I don't get nothing. I just stopped because I was scrolling down as you also. I just stopped. But when you do it, you would have a greater time with it. Because you have the time anyway, right? Let me see what they have there. So after outlining details of the accident, the HCM continues with the tour. They show you the gym where there are 4 exercise machines displayed, do not use signs. You ask them about this, and the HCM explains that the club purchased the machine 7 years ago. The machines were advanced exercise technology when purchased. However, they are now outdated and always in need of repair. The newest exercise machine is a replacement for the one associated with the last month's exercise. So there was nothing there. There was really no answers there. But there's a saying, it takes time because it is 7 or 8 of this you have to do. I would advise that you invest in a printer because it's easier to read when you print and have a pencil in your hand and you go. You understand, folks? The answers are not hard. Folks, you understand what I'm trying to tell you today? The answers, you could Google the answers. You could just go and Google what is the uninsured cost of an accident. You could open your book. You could open the slide. The answers are not hard. What is hard is when you give the answer, you say an uninsured cost is the like production loss or loss of money associated with the image of the company, but then you have to go and find the line to support that. You have to say, this is seen in the case study where, and you have to find a way. Only if you do that, let me just end this conversation with this. Only when you do that, do you get the mark that is available. Every response, if you're writing anything down, I think this is worthy of writing down, even though we would have seen it maybe already, right? Every response, I may have hinted to it in the orientation, right? And if it's 13 marks, you need 13 answers, but every response must have an answer, meaning it must have what is the uninsured cost, but it must be tied back into the lines for support, right? Lines for support. I just put support here. Only if you have that for a given answer, because each answer is treated separately. Only when you have that, the answer and the supporting lines, would you get the 1 mark available for that 1 point. And you do that 13 times, right? So the answer itself is in the book, and that's great. And the answer is on Google and stuff and in the slides. But you don't get the mark for just putting back. Otherwise, everybody would have passed. There must be an integration of the answer back to the passage, and that takes the time. Ideally, I think it takes about an hour to do every question, not because of the answer, but because of finding that magical line. Right? I just put in here, so every response must have an answer and the supporting line. Right? You would end up with about 13 answers looking like this. Yes, you could write in point form. That is what they want. They want it like this, right? I'll just draw down to 13, right? So you may wonder, well, here, but if anyone is thinking here, if you are thinking, well, I could probably just give them 10 and pass. You probably can't, right? you have to give them 13. If the pass mark in this course is what? What was the pass mark? 45, right?
45.
Yeah, very good, thanks. But do you know it have people that get 44 and fail? That person who got that 44 is probably one who didn't put 13 answers. They probably say, I'm just getting 8 in the passage. Look for more. Don't give up. Look for more. So people just look and they say, well, I can't get no more. That's what I'm telling you. At this level, you have to twist some of those lines. You kind of have to tailor them, and you have to interpret what you're reading, right? But in any NEBOSH exam, I'm trying to tell you, don't ever give less than what they ask for. Because that one you leave out could be the difference between 44 and 45. Yes, they mark that hard. Remember, I am at NEBOSH. Just to focus your back. NEBOSH is in England, is in Leicester, right? A lot of people passing, but the people who passing understand what they have to do. I just trying to focus you all back, right? So that you understand when you get assignment this week, what it is you have to do. You know, I still have, you know, we have more than one NEBOSH classes, right? I mean, we have about, we have 3 right now. I have 2 waiting to write exam next 2 weeks, right? You know, I give some students, well, we have mock exams, right? They're coming up close to exam. You know, I give them an exam. And you know, after all of this talk, you know, after all the videos being put, well, your videos, I put it on the WhatsApp group, which may be good because it's convenient. You are not the first class we're doing that for. The reason is I told you before, but the other class still waiting to write exam. So the Google Space then is still being used. I think I explained that here, right? Google is not free. We have to pay for the storage space, right? So we pay for 5 classes, but 2 of them still waiting to write exams. So when they leave, I'll set up your Google Classroom, but it doesn't matter because I've been putting the videos in the WhatsApp group, which is easy. You just click it and you play it. Like you don't have to log into nothing. You can just click it and you can play it. So here what, you know, after all, a whole 5 months went by, you know, it still have students not doing this. I was shocked. I give them an assignment. Well, last week I corrected it and stuff. This is the exam class. You know, people still not doing that. People still writing the answer alone without the lines. Then there are some people that put in the line alone without the answer. And this is taught like from day one, right? So I don't want you all to end up like that. I want you all to do it the right way. Because if you do it the right way, you'll pass and everybody will pass, right? The other thing I saw, I have a degree student, which is weird because what that means is that this person went through the certificate level because you must have the cert to enter into the NEBOSH diploma or the BSc level, right? So, you know, what was weird is this week the person handed up an assignment and it was written like this, like a page. It had no numbering. It had no numbering. It was just words like that, the whole page. No passage, no nothing, no numbering, no nothing, right? And I was shocked because I was like, but who teaching them that? Because it's not me. Only if you're sleeping and when you wake up, you see, I say, okay, like you see this, but I have never taught that. So who teaching them that? Not me. And I've made that, I said, somebody has had to be teaching you because I've never said that. The only explanation I could figure out is if you were sleeping during the class and you just wake up now. When you wake up, you see, I say what not to do, but you didn't hear the not to part. You just hear or you just see. So that's I put an X on it, right? You understand? Thoroughly understand? Because it weird to me. After 5 months, and then a degree student who went through the cert, writing like that, here what I tell you, right? NEBOSH do give any mark for this. They mark it point by point. If this one is correct, you get 1 mark. If this was correct, you get 1 mark. If that was correct, you get 1 mark. That was correct, you get 1 mark. You do that 13 times, you get 13 marks. You do it 12 times, you get 12 marks. You do it 10 times, you get 10 marks. If you do it 10 times and half of it was wrong, you get 5 marks. You do it 5 times and half of it was wrong, you get 2 marks. Right? It's easy to pass NEBOSH, right? If you want to know how to pass NEBOSH, look at right here. Passing NEBOSH is like playing a game of cricket, right? But here what the other side, they went in and bat already, and they get 45. So for you to win the game, you had to do what? The other side went in and bat already. So it's not your team to bat, right? So You had to beat the 45 because that's what passing exam is like. So if you're playing cricket, right, and you had to beat 45 runs, then every ball count, correct? If you have a certain amount of overs, right, then every ball count. So why you giving away, why you throwing wide for, right? Why you leaving out marks for, right? So folks, if you understand that, I hope you all wrote it down and I didn't waste my time because you know, it's always good to hear these things in the beginning, especially when I tell you this week I have homework to give you, right? You know what would happen? Do you know some people still do this the wrong way here? I hope it's not you. Every one of you in class here today, I hope it's not you doing it wrong because after all of this, right, when I give you the assignment this week, everybody understand how it is you have to write it and how you have to tie in those lines. It will be kind of time consuming, but I'm only going to give you one question and you're going to have to find those magical lines that will support your point. What I'll do, right, as this is your first assignment, I'll try to email you tonight, right? Remember, I have classes whole day today. Um, so when I email it, I'll let you know. So what I'll do, I'll give you a sample answer, maybe for the same question. Folks, you're okay with that? So when I give you the question, I'll probably give you one or two out of the 13, and I just want you to follow. But that's because of patterning today, right? Now, I wouldn't always do that because there's another reason why, right? But today is writing. So we're going to focus on writing skills this week then, like how to write. But eventually, when you get the writing skills, we have to focus on something else, which is interpretation, which is what is the question accent. This is an easy one. We all kind of know that what the uninsured costs are, right? But eventually there are questions where I wouldn't give you a start. If you're looking, take a note, write it down. So when you see you all put it in the chat, Shadrach didn't send an answer is because I don't want to send an answer. There are some questions I wouldn't be focusing on writing skills. I want to focus on interpretation. What do you think the question is asking? Because at the end of the day, it'll be you and you alone facing the exam. And if you can't interpret the question correctly, then you cannot pass the exam, right? But as we start, typically we go through a progression and writing skills. You get your writing skills down first, right? And the writing skills easy. You write in point form. That's how simple it is. You write in point form and you do like a comprehension, you type back in the passage, right? But as the weeks go by, or should I say the months, because the first month is a writing skill, right? By the second month, you probably will be like on interpretation skills, like what is the question accent, right? Hopefully you got it. Hopefully you made your notes because I realize some people not looking back at the videos, right? And I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about, the class I had, like why bother with the videos for people not looking back at it anyway. But you be different, right? You paying your money, you taking your time on a Saturday morning, you want to change your life, you want to get a certificate in your hand that is globally recognized, that is not Costa, that is not UE, that is not UTT, that is not the University of Guyana, that is not the New Guyana School, that is not School of Nations across. And this is NIBOSH itself. It not hard to pass. What make it hard is if you start to do your own thing. Once you follow what you have to do, once you follow the rules of the game, then you'll pass. If every game you're playing have different rules, you just have to follow the rules of the game, right? Once you follow the rules of the game, you'll pass. Folks, I'm gonna take that up. Do we have any questions on it? Any questions on this? So I want to see some nice assignments this week.
So what I wanted to ask,
Yes,
when
Kavita.
you're doing the assignments, would it be like on a Microsoft Word document, or is it a scan and copy something will be submitted?
So that's a nice question. I would prefer just let it be a Word document. Just let it be a normal Word document and you email it back to the school, right?
Okay.
I'll give you a deadline to, I could tell you the deadline now when all assignments is due on a Thursday, right? Anytime Thursday, right? But I'll try to issue it out tonight based on my schedule today. So it could work. It'll just be one question in it, but that one question may take you Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. You could finish it Thursday, whatever, and you submit it, right? So we do record them. Please listen to what I'm telling you. We do record them for NIBOSH purposes. Up to yesterday, NIBOSH asked me for some assignments at the last class, which I had, right? But what I want you to know is don't feel too bad and don't feel too good either, but don't feel too bad if you can't finish for Thursday, right? For now, it's for me, right? They ask me for it. They don't ask you for it. Nini Bosch are talking about, right? So if you finish Wednesday, fine. If you finish Friday, comment, fine. I will still correct it. Don't feel too bad, right? This is not primary school. This is tertiary education. We all know we all have different things to do. We all have commitments. We all have work commitments, right? So I'm not donging anybody, but we scorecard it. What that means is that it's on a register, right? Once you do it, we will correct it. So if you do it, fine, great. If you couldn't finish it for Friday, fine. Once you send it, we scorecard it. It is for me and it is for you to help you. In fact, it's not really for me, it's actually for you, right? To help you with the writing. And then once a semester, NIBOSH has asked for a sample of your work, right? It don't have to mean I send them this first one. I could send them a next one or a next one, whatever, right? So don't feel too bad if you can't finish for Thursday, but don't feel too good too, knowing that you have leeway. Try to finish it because it's for you. And the sooner you get it in, the better. The other thing though is that because you all know it's a school we have, it's not a class. You know, we have about 100 students in the school and it's not just one class, right? So the school has a feedback policy and that's to give me enough time to correct it. The feedback policy is within 7 working days. But if I am free, I normally correct them as much as I could, right? So if you submit Wednesday, if you submit, you probably will get corrected based on my timing, right? I also work in the company. So those who know, I'm a HSC consultant. I work all over the world, in fact, right? So this week I have 2 training sessions coming up, plus like a consultancy at a company, plus another one. I think Tiger Tanks wanted something done to develop some competence management system, right? So Sanitine, I normally look at it within 7 days anyway. Some of you will get it before that. And that's because it's what I'm doing in that particular day then. If I have the time, I would look at it, right? But don't send it and then expect to get it back one time, right? This is a school. This is not an online chat GPT text box or chat box, whatever. This is a real person, right? And I have work to do and you have work to do too. So the school, not now, many years ago, we created a feedback policy of 7 working days, right? But like I said, some of you will get it back based on what I'm doing. Some of you may not get it back within a day or 2 days or 3 days, but you'll get it back within these 7 days, right? Keep that in mind. If you want me to, I could email you the feedback policy so you can read it for yourself instead of me telling you that the school has a feed. I should probably send you all the student handbook. I don't know if I ever did that. I'll probably send you that as well, right? I can take a note of that because I myself would forget, right? Yeah, we do have a student handbook. You all should have been given that, right? So that you know the policies and stuff of the institute, right? But I'll take a note of it here to send you the student handbook, right? All right. So with that out of the way, let's make a start, right, to today's work, right? So what I'll do, based on the time I used up here, but you see, this is greater than theory. I don't know if you understand that. What I just told you here was greater than theory. Because you could just get all the theory and not understand what you have to do with it. But if you understand what you have to do with it, you'll pass your exam, right? So because of that, what I'll do, right? I will do some explanation. I wouldn't do too much reading. So if you want, you could follow. If you want, just you can take your book, you could watch. I'll directly to the page 7. And I'll do some explanation because remember, it's not like if you had to remember notes, you had to remember concepts, right? So look at page 7, and we'll still try to get as much as we could get done in the time, right? So what I would do, I would line up my slide to something with law, like this one here, right? But I'll do some of the explanation on the left-hand side right here. What you could do, you could make notes if you want. You could just underline it in the textbook because I use in the book, right? So just as we get this started, if you look at page 7, and if you don't have the book, but you're looking at the slide because it's the same thing I'm directing you to, which is this here, right? So there is like a main law for health and safety in the world. And you could probably write it down like that. I mean, just to be honest, you could write it down like that because that's so true, right? So the name of the law, you could look on page 7, it's smack in the middle of the book. It's called the Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act 1974. So because of the time, I'll just put the acronym, but if you have the book, you could write out the whole thing. And if you don't have the book, I can call it again, right? It's the Health and Safety at Work Act or etc. Act, but most people leave out the etc., right? The Health and Safety at Work Act, etc. 1974, right? 1974. So there is too long of a story to tell you of why this is the main law. But this is not a history class, so I don't want to tell you all the story. What we could just come to is that this is the main law for health and safety in the world, right? I'll just do one explanation of it. I won't do the whole history. I'll just do one explanation of it, right? So it's not history. They're not going to answer the history of the act and how it came about and stuff, right? But it is the main law for health and safety in the world. And what that means, if you just watch here a bit, it's the main law for exactly what I said, but we have two sort of countries represented here today. We have Trinidad and we have Guyana, right? But if this was Grenada, it would have been the same thing, right? If it was America, it was Canada, it would have been the same thing. I just put in what is the two countries represented here, Trinidad and Guyana, right? So what happened, as you all know, so I just studied here one paragraph of the history, right? You don't have to write it down. I'm just trying to explain to you why we say what we say, right? As you all know, the British ruled the world. Well, the last conquering, sort of entity then. Before them would have been Rome, and before them could have been, a lot of empires, Genghis Khan and, the Russian Empire. But of course, in the last sort of 400 years, then it was really the British, right? The British ruled the world. And, we were part of that, as much as the history is not nice, but it's true. Slavery and indentureship were actually British. Y'all know that, right? Slavery and indentureship was actually British. Who brought the slaves? Who brought the indentured laborers? It was the British, right? So fast forward now to this story now. When Trinidad and Guyana became independent, because Trinidad has a president, Guyana has a president in the person of Mr. Ali, right? And we wanted to have a law for safety. So Trinidad, Guyana, when we wanted to have our law for safety, what I'm trying to tell is that because we were ruled by the British, we were like a colony, right? We, Trinidad, Guyana, you could put America in this, you could put anybody in this, When I say the British rule the world, they rule the world. You could put Africa in this too, I don't know if you know that. Yeah, you probably know that, huh? Right? You can put the USA in this too, the British rule the world, right? Anyway, what I was saying is that when these countries wanted to become independent, but we were granted independence, Trinidad and Guyana, both countries are a republic, meaning we have our own, presidents. But when it was time to come up with a law, what I'm trying to tell you here is that we did not invent it. We, Trinidad, Guyana, we did not, no one in Trinidad went up on the San Fernando Hill, and nobody in Guyana went, I guess, down at the seawall. Nobody went there and meditated and thought about what should I put in the act. No, what they did, they just took back the same act. You all understand that? And today we have the Ash Act of Trinidad and Tobago, 2004. But the only thing changed is just that, is just the name tag. Like the Ash Act 2004, amended 2006, and in Guyana is the Ash Act 1997. Nothing has changed, including America, including Canada. Nothing has changed. What that means is that if you learn, well, you don't have to learn because it's in the book, right? But if you learn then the duty of the employer, if you watch this slide, to provide safe place of work, safe plan, safe access egress, it doesn't matter where you go. In Guyana, this is the same thing. In Grenada, this is the same thing. If you don't know the Grenada OSHA, right? Grenada is 2015, by the way. It's the same thing. You go Canada, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what it is because we were all ruled by the British. And when it was time to invent the wheel then? There was already a wheel. So why are you going back and invent the wheel if the British had a good wheel? The law was a good thing, right? What they had in the law was a good thing. So when I say the Health and Safety at Work Act is the main law for health and safety in the world and in this course, none of us, no Trinidadian, no Guyanese, no American, no Canadian came up with this thing. The man that came up with it, he died though. He died in 1999. His name was Lord Reuben, right? But a British citizen then, right? He died in 1999. But he was the one. It wasn't us. It wasn't a local. It wasn't a Caribbean. It wasn't a South American person, right? So for that reason, watch me now. Watch here a bit. When any law question is asked in this course, what should I do? And I hope you write this down. You cannot quote anything locally. If any question is asked, what is the duty of the employer? They are referring to the main act, the source act then for the world, the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. If you put anything local, you'll get no marks. I hope you write that down. And I hope never to see it. Some Guyanese that still put it. I haven't seen much Trinidadian putting it, but some Guyanese that still put the Guyana or Shark, right? Don't do it. Now, in a way, you're doing it because it's the same thing, but then don't say the OSHAC 1997 because you can't get it wrong. The only way you get it wrong is if you put the tagline OSHAC 1997 because the lines is the same. What's the duty of the employer to provide safe place of work? So as long as you don't put the tag, you get correct, right? Please remember and look it in your book. Did you all see it? You could underline it. As I tell you, you didn't need to really write anything. You could underline it in your book. The Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act 1997. There's a reason why it's in bold, right? So your eyes are gonna miss it, but some people are still miss it. All right, we're moving on, right? Okay, so the next thing now, well, if you're okay with this, I will take this off. The next thing now, I would want you to sort of fast track to something in your book, right? Now, I'll show you why I'm doing this. You see, they didn't give the sections on this page. If you watch page 7, they don't have no sections on it. But every law have sections then, like sections of the act, right? If you turn the page 8, we'll come back to this, right? They go in here into like how an act was made through parliament, and we'll come back to that, right? There are classes on that. But the sections of the act, you'll have to go a bit forward, right? Remember, I'm not the author of your textbook. I'm just telling you what the author did, right? So the sections of the act, you could find it on page 20. So if you turn to page 20, you'll see the heading, a big heading, which is the same heading. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. There's another law there too, but we'll come back to that law because there's a whole other concept for that other law, right? But if you start to watch page 20, and tell me when you get it, page 21, 22, 23, 24. See if you're seeing it, you start to see sections like, okay, you're seeing section 2, you're seeing section 2.1, you're seeing section 3. See if you're seeing things like that. There's actually a table 2, page 26. See if you're seeing that, because you'll have to be able to get the sections. And here what I say, get the sections. You don't have to remember the sections because it's an open book exam, right? Tell me if you're seeing your page 20. Tell me if you're seeing page 21. You start to see some sections. And for those of us who don't have the book, here's what I did, right? I want you all to listen. For those who don't have the book, and I have a couple of people that don't have it in Guyana, right? What I did a summary at the end of the slide. So when I say end is the end, so you have to go all the way down here. If you have your handout, you have to go all the way down, yeah? End means end. So, okay, I think it's somewhere down here. I wonder, no, it's further down. It's to the end. Okay, look, I did a summary here, right? So you start to see here, from here, this is slide 73. I kind of summarize it at the end, right? So you see section 2.1, 2.2, 2.2 again, section 3, section 4, section 6, section 7, 8, 9, 36, 37. Now, when you look at these two, I know it looks like a lot, but remember, folks, it's an open book exam, so don't get frightened, right? You just have to know where to find it, not to learn it, just where to find it. It's on slide, it's on PowerPoint 1, You could write that down, slide 73. And if you have your book, it begins on page 21, right? But what NEBOSH will ask you here for, they will ask you, you'll have to cite the section, right? Like they will say section 2.2. And if they say section 2.2 and you write on section 3, you'll get it wrong, right? They will say section 7. And if you didn't read the question and you write on section 2, you'll get it wrong. So reading is important. And everything else is on the slide. But that's gonna go through them a bit. I'll take it back from the top. If you have your book, you can follow through page 21. Let me just I just gonna put on my AC, right? I was trying to maneuver with the windows open. But it's getting a bit hot. Right, so yeah. Next week, right? Next week, Saturday, before I forget, is the first Saturday of the month. So remember, fees are due to NEBOSH. Just remember that. If we don't pay them, they will suspend you from the course. There's one thing about NEBOSH you have to understand. They like standards. Sure, you figured that out already, right? They like standards. Like we cannot owe them. If I owe NEBOSH, they will suspend my license. That's not a joke. I've never owed them in the last decade. 14 years, I've never owed NEBOSH anything. Right now, NEBOSH actually have money for me. Yeah, NEBOSH have money for me. I could show you. I've overpaid on something. They have 147 pounds on me. But the minute you owe them, that's it. For those who don't remember, NEBOSH is like a brand, right? It's like a franchise. It's like KFC. It's like Starbucks. It's like a brand, but it's like the #1 brand. Like Starbucks is the #1 brand for drinks, right? Rituals can't even come close. Rituals is a waste of time, right? Starbucks stuff tastes better, right? So it's like a brand, but the owners of Starbucks, right? Remember, they have to pay.
I'm back to the podium.
Nah, man, I'm Darren, nah, man. Rituals fail. yeah, all right. But that's the point I'm trying to tell you. Like the owners of the entity have to pay now. If they don't pay, then you lose your license for Starbucks, right? Or KFC. So that's what NEBOSH is, right? So I know you all are new, and that's why I say these things. Sometimes, we say it on the initial thing, payment is due the first Saturday, but you have to keep to that, because once you don't keep to that, by the week they will suspend you from off the course, right? So keep to it. Now you could let me know too. I know some people get paid and stuff at some weird times. 1 or 2 occasions, like I said, I have paid for students. Like that 147 pounds I pay for a student. A guy named is Darian, right? Darian Mohammed. But as much as possible, you're trying to, because the whole school does it, right? It's not you alone, everybody else does it. Everybody else feels the pressure then when the month comes to an end then, right? Or the first Saturday of every month. But keep that in mind. Any week I'll give you an email reminder. So next Saturday from 8 a.m. I would be at the office. What you all can do, you all take your class first. Take the class, because we're there for the whole day. We normally leave, not today, today I'm home, right? Next week. But we normally leave there like 5:30, right? So, take your class. Your class finishes early, 10:30. Then, take your time, come down the road, head to the mall, pass by the office, do what you have to do on a Saturday, right? That is how it goes anyway. All right, folks, I'm moving on. So let's go to the sections. I was telling you all. So the Act have sections in it, right? And so here what I could do for you all. I could do a mass explanation, because you see, we could read and you could figure it out for yourself. So let's do a mass explanation. So the mass explanation, I'm writing it on the side, is that there are different sections of the HSW Act. You could just look at, just now, let me finish this off. If there was a table for it, so you don't even have to write this down. Look at our table on page 26. I don't know if you want to watch that. But you don't have to. I think they're trying to match up here something with compliance and non-compliance. So you can probably wait on my little sketch here, right? So the HSW Act have different sections in it. Watch what I'm doing for you all. I'm breaking everything down for you all. 1974, right? So watch it. It have section 2, And this is the duty of the employer, right? Now, let me finish all of them and I'll tell you what's the most popular one, right? So section 2 is the duty of the employer. There are two sections to section 2. There's section 2.1. That's what you're looking at on the slide, and that's what you're looking at on page 21. And there's section 2.2, right? So let's go again. I could probably put some points here, right? Like a point. So the next thing, there is section 3. And section 3 is the duty of the employer to non-employees, like people who visit your company, like visitors, like consultants, clients, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, people selling, insurance workers, police officers, anybody visiting your company that's a non-employee, right? Children coming for a field trip, right? What's the duty of the employer towards them? Section 4 is the duty of persons who own the building. We can normally refer to this as the duty on landlords. So the landlord may not be the employer, but in some cases it may be. It's the owner of your building. Section 4, the duty is on them, landlords, right? There is no section 5. I'll tell you about that just now, but if you remember that alone, then you should never quote section 5. There is no section 5. It was repealed, right? So you see what I'm doing? If you turn the page in the book, you'll see it and you'll see it. If you turn it, but I'm doing a mass explanation because remember, you don't have to remember this anyway. You just know where to find it. So where to find it? Page 21. Okay, let us see the duty of the employer. When you turn the page, you'll see the duty of the employer. Section 3, you could see the duty to others. This is on page 23, non-employees. If you read the line at top, you'll see that non-employees, section 3 on page 23. But if you watch the slide, it's the same thing, right? So there's no section 5. Section 6 is the duty of manufacturers. Like if somebody sold you something, like they sold you a new phone, or you bought a new television, right? Or you bought a new machine, the manufacturer must give you certain information then, like the data sheets, right? If you bought something in the pharmacy, the thing that you buy would have a label on it, right? That's the duty of the manufacturer to tell you what it is, right? The data sheets, anything you buy what people have bought. You bought something from courts, they'll give you the instructions. Why do they do that? Well, it's the law, it's the worldwide law to say the manufacturers must give you the information on the product, the drawings, the assembly information, how to take care of it. If it's a medicine, they will say keep it out of the reach of children. If it's a medicine, they may say store it in a cool, dry place, right? So that's section 6. Section 7, and I run out of space, I'm going to go back to the top. Section 7 is the duty of employees, your duty. Like what is your duty back to the employer? Section 7 is the duty of the employees, right? Let me try to fit some to the top up here. Section 8 is the duty on everyone not to horseplay in the company, not to misuse equipment then. Section 8, the duty on everyone, managers, supervisors, employees, custodians, caretakers, everyone, and the duty is not to fool around. I mean, that's how we could say it here, but it's really not to horseplay or misuse, right? So some people call this the horseplay section, not to misuse that, not to ride on the forklift, not to take the company's pneumatic gun and play with it, not to take the company, sorry, I was gonna write gun there. What's gonna write just now? I lost my train of thought. Okay, sorry, I was gonna write there. I was going to write misuse, right? So you cannot misuse company equipment. Cannot take the people's van and be running it, you know, other than where they send you then, right? They send you down Waco, if you all know where that is, right? And you end up Maracas Beach, right? So, or of course, those in Guyana, you end up by the seawall. Of course, I know there are better beaches in Guyana too, right? But the thing, you can't misuse company equipment. That's Section 8. Section 9 is for the company to provide you with PPE, and we all like this. The company to provide you with PPE free of charge. Yes, it's the law. The companies must provide you with PPE free. Yes, you could write that down if you didn't know. They're not supposed to take it out of your salary, but some companies do it, right? PPE must be free as well as training. If you have a job to do and you had to be trained, the training have to be free as well. In other words, and if they say, you know, like they want you to be the first aider, but you had to go and do a first aid course, well, the company have to pay for that because they are the ones who told you that you have to be a first aider. If they want you to start to, you know, like to be the one to tackle a fire, that's called a fire marshal or a fire warden. And they say, okay, well, they say, let's say Sade, you know, or Kavita, those who have on my screen, I'm gonna turn the screen a bit, or Ariel, they say, okay, they want you all to be the fire wardens. Well, they have to pay for you. You can't pay for yourself because that's a job that they give to you, right? This is the law in Trinidad and Tobago, it's the law in Guyana, but it's not always being enforced because a lot of companies charge you for PPE in the region anyway, right? No, they didn't get the memo, but it's the OSH Act. Remember these things localizes the OSH Act, right? I don't know how much trouble it would be. Sometimes if you say these things, it creates trouble for some companies. But if it's not, if the environment you're in is one of, they will listen to you, you could probably have them, you could download a little flyer on the OSH Act. Guyana and Trinidad are talking about, the Ministry of Labor will have it in Guyana at the Ministry of Labor website. Right? And for those of us in Trinidad, I think you could also get it from the OSH agency. They have free flyers. You could just download something, the rights of the employer, and probably just use that now and say, you know, you all should have provided free PPE. But a lot of companies, you see, OSHA is not everywhere, including in Guyana too. The Ministry of Labor in Guyana, which is where OSHA is not everywhere now. So companies do what they want when they can in the region anyway, right? All right, I'm moving on. I have two more sections to add here. So there's actually section 36 that is relevant for the exam. And I'll put them together, 36, 37. The reason for this is that these are meant on middle managers and senior managers. 36 is meant for middle managers. 37 is meant for senior managers. I'll put middle and senior managers. Right? Middle and senior managers. So senior is 37, and middle is, you know, the middle managers is 36, right? And these are all the sections that are on your syllabus. What I did here, I did a mind map of all the sections. You can turn your book and you'll see. Now, there are more sections because if you're wondering, well, what happened to section 10? Well, there is a section 10, it's just not on your syllabus. Remember, there's a degree level to this. What happened to section 11 and 12? Well, there is, but just turn your book, you'll see, you'll not see it. You'll see 3, are you all on page 23? Just watch page 23 if you have time, if you finish writing. So see if you see section 3, then 4, you notice there is no 5. People don't even mention 5 because remember 5 was repealed. So that's why you're not seeing 5. But I tell you that now in case you wonder, well, what happened to 5? Well, they take out 5, right? It has 6. If you see page 23, you see section 6, turn the page. What you see into the top of page 24? Anybody? Whose duty?
Employee duties.
What section is that?
Section 7.
7.
7.
Very good, very good, right? I just wanted to see. Turn to page 27 because what they did, they put in like a case study there. But if you turn to page 27, you would see just some of the sections you're seeing. 8, 9, and what?
36 and 37.
Right. Okay. So that's what the syllabus cover. Right, folks? So don't go away thinking it don't have the other numbers, but they wouldn't test them, right? And let me just put in a plug here too. When you all finish, it's not for everybody. Not everybody does want to do a degree, right? If you want to, we have, remember, this is the only center in the Caribbean when I said this, it's like quote by me, right? But I don't really mean here. But the Shadrach Safety Institute then is the only provider for the NEBOSH diploma in the Caribbean and South America. Now, we were not, I told you this story before, right? That's nothing to talk about really, because I wasn't the only one. I don't know if I told you this story. What happened was the pandemic. So it's not a good story, right? Somebody died, another provider died. And you'll have any idea who we're talking about? Another NEBOSH provider passed away in the pandemic. She got COVID and she died. The staff too died, right? So when I tell you I'm the only one, that doesn't mean it's anything that I do. I must be doing something right, but at the same time, that is not, it's not me then. What happened, right? The other provider, he got sick in the pandemic too. And he made a decision to stop. He older than me. I met him in the business. I was a young guy 15 years ago. They were the ones, I was the newest provider 15 years ago, right? It had two others before me. And today I am the oldest one now because you have O'Shea's offer like a version of NEBOSH, but they don't offer the same NEBOSH. The one they offer is not accredited in the UK, right? And they don't do the degree. And same thing in Guyana. There is an entity called the School of Nations. They offer another NEBOSH. It's not the same thing. That is not accredited in the UK. The version they offer is not accredited in the UK. You cannot go to England with it then, right? At the same time, they don't offer anything more, right? So today I am the only one that you can go up with that from level 3 to level 4 to level 6 to the masters, right? So if you are interested, you can come in September. That's the next enrollment, right? But you have to tell us from before. The reason for that is that these are waiting lists. Being the only one now, we get students from elsewhere. We get students, but I give my students preference. Once you tell me you're interested, not nowhere, this is too early. I just telling you, when the course comes to end, you tell me, right? Your name go on, right now the degree class is 40 students. 40 something. I've been nice. It shouldn't be so big. So the thing though, because we are the only one, we have people from all about. Costa, Cipriani, SBCS. My students, of course, get preference. Guyana, England, Grenada, the Middle East, right? So if you're interested in that, the first thing you need to say is if you're interested, right? If you want a career in safety, the NEBOSH certificate disqualifies you to be a safety advisor. But if you want to be like a manager then, right? Then you move on to the NEBOSH diploma. It isn't very expensive. I dropped the price. It is expensive, just like NEBOSH. It's hard, but it's not too hard, just like me, right? So the NEBOSH diploma before the pandemic was 50,000. We have dropped it to 30,000, and you pay that off in 2 years' time, right? So it is why I think a lot of people commented because it's tough to pay, but it's not too tough if you take it over 2 years, right? So it's just like NEBOSH, it is what it is, right? And everybody survives with that price for now, right? I mean, NEBOSH is surviving with it. I am surviving with it. It's not a lot of money you're making, right? Before the pandemic, here I tell you, it was 50,000 plus, right? But it still does what it does, and NEBOSH still make a fair amount of money out of the Caribbean then, as we offer the most amount of the courses anyway. All right, anyway, back to this, right? Keep back to the back of your head. Don't say nothing about it. Don't tell me you're interested now because it's too early now. And like I said, it's not for everybody. If you have a degree already, you probably don't need another one. But you could decide where the job's going, right? If you have a degree, you probably don't need another one. You just need to add the NEBOSH cert to your resume, right? Or a couple of the NEBOSH certs because there are more than one cert. Remember, tell you that this is the main one. But it have risk assessment, accident investigation, blah, blah, blah. All right, folks, back to this, right? So here the thing, right? Out of this pepper pot, or out of this pilau that you're looking at here, not everything does come for the exam, right? So the two most important sections, I want you to write it down. And if it's your book, well, it is your book. We're not coming back for those books, right? It's your book. Highlighted, the two most important section is section 2.2 of section 2, the duty of the employer, right? And the other important section is section 7. Hear what I'm telling earlier very carefully. Yeah? Now, again, remember, I am not Nostradamus. I cannot predict a paper. But what I could tell you is a trend. I could tell you, listen to what I'm telling you, right? There are no, zero, nada, none questions on any of the other sections. You want to tell you just now? There are no questions on section 3. None. Doesn't exist. There are no questions on section 4. Does not exist. There are no questions in section 5 during the pandemic to now. There were questions before the pandemic. There is none in section 8. There is none in section 9. There is none in section 36, 37. Right? Now, section 8, I wanted to look at it carefully. Section 8 could be asked, but they have not asked it. Could be doesn't mean that they will do it, because section 8 is a duty on who? On?
Employees.
Everyone.
Okay, very good for the person who said employees. Okay, let me ask another question. Is the employer in section 8 as well? Could the employer be implicated under section 8?
Yes, it's a duty on
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. So if they ask you the duty of the employer, then you can say the duty of the employer is not to horseplay either. Because you know, a lot of times it's the supervisors that do the wrong thing. The supervisor will tell the worker, use this. There are some questions like that, where the supervisors say, use this defective machine or use this machine, but it have an electrical fault. Now, if that's the case, the employer is breaking section 8 because they're misusing company equipment, right? Okay, here what? So remember trying to zone you down like a teacher teaching fractions. I've told you this story before. There are many fractions, but there's only one type coming for CXC as mixed fractions, right? So just like that, there's different duties here, but there's only one kind of question coming for your exam. So that question is, I wanted to turn to page 22. And I will be as bold as to say, that is the question that normally comes. Page 22, the bottom of page 22. I'll turn my slide just now. If anybody writing, please finish up what we have on the screen. I'm gonna clean that screen in about 20 seconds time. If you're writing, well, let me know. I would kind of delay a bit if you're writing anything on this slide, right? Okay, somebody have a question here. Can you go straight to the NEBOSH Masters if you hold up a UE Masters in USH? I would say yes, but I would also say no, because there's a different standard to UE and to NEBOSH. In other words, everybody will pass UE, but not everybody will pass NEBOSH. I don't know if you caught that. If you jump from another course into the UE, the NEBOSH Masters, forgive the expression if you're in Guyana, I don't know if you'll understand the expression, but you will catch your tail if you jump from another course without doing the NEBOSH certificate. You see how heavy NEBOSH is, folks? This is your second class, right? You all see how heavy NEBOSH is? You just had 2 classes now. We have finished this one yet. You see how heavy the work is? This is just your second class. Imagine somebody doing a Costa degree in which they just pass you locally here, or a UE degree in which they just pass you locally here, and you jump into the NEBOSH diploma. By the way, I don't allow that. I am the only provider and I don't allow it, right? To jump into the NEBOSH diploma or the masters, you have to have your NEBOSH certificate, because I don't allow it. Because have you studied the HSW Act or the HSW Act in your course? Probably not, right? So I could ask one question. I could do an interview, and we normally ask like an interview, and the students would know it. So then you can't get there. You have to start from here, right? Not because you can't, but because you wasn't taught it. You would just teach a whole bunch of craziness. I know. I used to teach it. I taught about 14 courses in UE. You are doing a safety course, but you're teaching your psychology. You're doing a safety course, but you're teaching your chemistry. And here the thing right now, folks, nothing is wrong with the chemistry now. But you see, if they don't make it applicable, this is the problem with those courses. They don't make it applicable. When I tell you they teach in chemistry, anybody know chemistry here? What they're teaching here is not chemistry and safety, you know. It would be good if they were teaching you chemistry and safety, because remember, there is chemistry and safety. There is the material safety data sheet. There is signs and symbols like on the label products, right? But they're not teaching chemistry and safety. Now, what I'm teaching is chemistry, balancing chemical equation, the periodic table. It's not applicable. Anyone of you did those courses here? I taught them, and I taught, right? When you're doing psychology, you're not doing psychology in safety, you know, which is like culture and attitude. What you're doing is Sigmund Freud. So it's not related. So when you come with those degrees to these courses, you just catch your tail because you didn't really do what you had to do. You was doing psychology, right? And not safety psychology, because there is, look, we covered. Anybody remember the psychologist who came up with the thing with the iceberg theory? Anybody remember his name? His name starts with an H. He was a German. I'd call his name in class. Anybody remember his name? It have psychologists in safety, but why are you not teaching this psychology in safety? Why are we going back and learning about Sigmund Freud for? Right? So there's a difference when you come here with a degree from another place, a different entity, that nothing is wrong with your degree, but the content wasn't safety. Tell me if I lie, because I know what I'm talking about. Right? So some of those degrees are easier to get. But when you come into safety, you all realize NIBOSH is just safety. You realize that, right? It's just safety. Hardcore safety. This is why, now the other thing is, remember, again, I didn't start the fire, as they would say. It has always been burning, you know, as they say. Starbucks will always be Starbucks. KFC will always be KFC. You could open a Japs next to a KFC. And for a while, you may get customers, but people will go back to KFC. Yeah? You could open a next entity next to Starbucks. You could call it Moonbox. Moonbox. Trinidadians and Guyanese will run to it for the first month, but eventually they'll go back to Starbucks. And that's what NIBOSH is, right? You could do anything you want to do. NIBOSH is still going to be the top brand out there. At the end of the day, it still is going to be NIBOSH, right? The good news, here the good news, you all are in the right place. This is not Costa. This is not UE. This is the real NIBOSH, the one from England. This is where you have to be, right? All right, folks. I just want to shout out those things there in the book. I was telling you I was going to line up this slide, right? I'm going to line up this slide. Again, if you doubt me, please go on Google HSE jobs in England. I have done it. Google HSE jobs Guyana. See what they, look at, have some in the group. Didn't you all post some this week? I think I saw somebody post something. If I see any more, I'll post it, right? But didn't you all do some of that this week? I think I saw some of you all posted something this week, right? Yeah, but I have many different groups now. Remember, we have different classes. I could check out my February batch and see what they posted. This is one in Guyana. It's not even Trinidad. This is something in Guyana. HSE officer. This is something in Guyana. So when I tell you world recognized, right? Just check it out for yourself. But you know how to take thing, right? This is actually ICM group in the UK, but somebody in the Guyana class is what posted, right? Go and see how much money you could make. After the class, or finishing just now, Google HSE jobs UK. Anybody could do that now. If you're not writing, Google it and put it in the chat while I teach it, and see how much money you could make. See what they're looking for. See if they're looking for the NIBOSH from the School of Nations. It's not that. See if they're looking for the NIBOSH from OSHEs. It's not that. They're different NIBOSH. This is the main one, right? See if they're looking for COSTAT. When you put those jobs, see if they're looking for COSTAT and UE. And if you see, come back and tell me, right? You wouldn't see it. You would see one brand, NIBOSH, right? All right, folks. Page 22, I want to line this up, right? So page 22 is the duty of the employer. So some of the duty is, I can just read them. I read them from the book. Page 22, section 2.2. I read it from the book, even if I have it here. I read it from the book, right? Page 22. The duty of the employer, section 2.2a. In fact, let me read the heading. They say the employer's specific duty to their employees are to provide, so far as is reasonably practicable, 22A, safe plant and safe systems of work. A safe system of work, if you don't know, I could tell you one time. A safe system of work is like job instructions. It's like they must tell you what to do now. So if you want to call it a permit, some people call it a permit to work. Some people call it a JSA, job safety analysis. Some people call it like your JD, your job description. They're supposed to give it that. Safe plant is obvious, right? It must be safe. Can't have too much of clutter around, must be well kept. Safe plant is self-explanatory, right? And safe systems of work. 22B, the employer must provide safe use, handling, storage, and transport of articles and substances. 22C, the company must provide, or the employer must provide, information, instruction, training, and supervision. Training, of course, they're being free of charge. 22D, now folks remember, this is the duty in Trinidad too. Is this the duty in Trinidad and Guyana too? Yes, nothing had changed. Remember, we didn't write anything, and we just took the same thing and put a new name tag to it and say the OSHAC. Same thing in Guyana, right? Same thing in Grenada, same thing in America. Yes, America is ruled by the British too. Canada still ruled by the British. Anybody know who is the head of state in Canada? Does Canada have a president? The head of state of Canada is the King of England. It was the Queen, but you know, she died, right? So the King. Anybody know who is the head of state of Grenada? I'll give you a next clue. Is the King again? Yes, the King of England. Grenada doesn't have a president. They're still under the British. They're independent, but they're not a republic. Grenada, 45 minutes from Trinidad, right? All right, 22E, the employer must provide, but everybody loves this one, the company or the employer must provide a safe work environment with adequate welfare facilities. Welfare, of course, includes drinking water, a microwave, a place to heat your food, a place to cool your food, a place to sit, a place to eat, air conditioned most of the times, hand sanitizers, washroom facilities, all of that is under section 22E, right? Turn if you want, because remember we said, well, we already know what section 3 is, the duty of the employer to non-employees. If you want to watch it in the book, section 4, the duty of the employer to people who own a premise or like a landlord. If you look at the book, section 6, the duty of manufacturers, right? And they don't ever test these sections, but if they should, remember, it's an open book exam. You can just go back and read it. If you turn the page, we're going to read this one though, page 24, and I'll line this one up here as well. Right? The duty of the employees, and there are two main duties. If you have the book, you will see 2 bullet points. If you don't have the book and you're looking at the slide, you'll see the same 2 bullet points. And nothing different. We just copy it and put it there, right? So the duty of the employee, section 7 of the Act states that it shall be the duty of every employee to, reading from the book, even though it's on the slide, I'm reading it from the book, to take reasonable care for the health and safety of themselves and of other persons who may be affected by their actions or omissions at work. What is an omission? An omission is like if you saw something but you didn't say anything. Like you were the last one who drove the company van and you heard a noise, but you say nothing. Or you were the last one who drove the company van and you realize that the brakes wasn't holding too good, but you say nothing. That's an omission. That means you failed to carry out your duty. Like you use a drill. You use a drill and it had a short in the cord, but you tell nobody nothing, right? Another worker came and picked it up, used it, and he got electrocuted. You would have broken the act, right? So it's your duty, see if you can see, to take care of yourself and that of others. Next thing, it's your duty to cooperate with the employer to enable them to fulfill their legal obligations, not for them to break the law, right? But for them to fulfill their legal obligation. Meaning, for example, if the company said, well, section 22C, if we go back, remember 22C is the duty of the employer. So let's say the employer now have organized training. the company said, look, we want to organize some training in risk assessments. And they say Frank, they say Cliff, let me find some other names. They say Callis, they say can you all attend training? They say Kimberlina, Lyndon, Nairi, can you all attend training? Can you all, because the company is going to organize a Shadrach to come in and do some risk assessment. I did that this week, that's what I'm telling you, right? A company called Cadwell. And I'm back there next week Tuesday. So they say, so can you come into training? We're going to pay, we're going to provide some refreshments. Well, it's your duty to cooperate with the employer. You cannot say, I don't want to do no training. Them don't care about me. I go and stay home that day. Right? You know, some workers just do that, right? But a lot of companies, those of us in the companies, a lot of workers are willing to do training. That's section 22C. A lot of workers are willing to come to training because you get a certificate out of it that you normally would have had to pay for. Another thing too is that the company does provide refreshments. Like some companies do this in a big way. Atlantic, Proman, Demas, what they have training is big training, right? It's like, you're getting food, you're getting like a free work day, and you're in training, right? So a lot of people do like that, but they do have some people that say, well, I stayed home that day, and when they organize for you another day, you say you stayed home again. One day you say you have diarrhea. Next day they say you have constipation. All kind of excuse people give sometimes, right? So the thing is, you have to cooperate with the employer because remember the employer duty is to provide section 22C. So the company trying to do what they have to do, but you have to comply with them as well, right? All right, folks, I think I'll stop here today because we have covered the two main sections. I would ask you to read up on it a bit, read up on the sections a bit. The most I would do, I could have looked back at that past paper, but they do have a law question in it, right? What they did remember, I'll tell you, we can look back at it now. Once I could find it, right? The April paper did not test law. Watch for yourself, right? This is the April paper. Remember what I said in case you forget, moral, legal, financial is always there, but we don't know which one. We don't know which one does come. And every paper, the first question is always be something on moral, legal, financial. In this case, in April 2024, which is still in April, right? What came was financial. Watch the last question too. It had no law question. So remember, we are not NEBOSH. This is like CXC. Your secondary school teacher would teach you and the CXC paper come. But your your secondary school teacher didn't set the paper. The paper was set in Barbados, right? So we could only tell you, look, I think this could come, but whether it comes or not, something does come. Moral, legal, financial will come. But which one, we're not too sure, right? So if you watch this one here, they actually tested morals as well. So they left out law in April, meaning, I guess the students writing not next week, the other week will probably get law. When is your turn? It's either going to be 1 out of the 3. And in some cases, that they have 2 questions out of the 9. 2 of the questions was on chapter 1, right? So how important is your first 2 classes then, right? So health and safety morals, you just had to read this and find what was unacceptable. Remember, moral means the right thing to do. This is an easy question. You just had to read the thing and find 8 things that they wasn't doing right. Simple. It's like a passage, right? All right, I'll move to finish the class because normally when I don't, I run short into the